Hello, welcome back to my channel. Um, Hi, how are you? So today is the I just learned this. Today is the 8th day of the first month of the lunar calendar, which means that it is the Jade Emperor's birthday. And the reason why I'm telling y'all this is because I didn't know that it's the Jade Emperor's birthday today. And there were tons of fireworks outside just before I recorded this video. And I have a feeling that while I'm recording this video, there may be some more fireworks outside. So you might hear those fireworks sounds. I think I can hear fireworks coming from a large distance away right now. You may or may not hear it, I don't know, but there may be some nearer fireworks later, I don't know. But yeah, just a little bit of a heads up. I had a bit of a silly idea to kind of make a video talking about these two books that I finished recently. So this one is Daddy Longlegs by Webster. And this one is Botchan by Natsume Sōseki, translated from Japanese to English by Cohn. And the reason why I just kind of want to talk about these two books in pair in this video is because I feel like these two books were some of the books that I read recently that sort of that was something that I could connect with in a personal way, but at the same time there were some elements in both of these books that I felt like were sort of in a way connected to each other, as if they're having some kind of conversation, or at least maybe I'm just kind of imagining that they have some kind of conversation with each other through me. So this book was originally published in 1912. I really enjoyed this one. This book is about this young girl named Judy Abbott, Jerusha Judy Abbott, and she's 18 years old. She's raised in an orphanage, and the main thing about this book is how Judy Abbott ended up being sponsored to go to college by a mysterious benefactor. And apparently this mysterious benefactor, he decided to fund Judy's education in college after reading her essay, which kind of gives us a clue about what kind of a writer Judy is and probably the kind of voice that she has. And we are certainly treated with her voice in this book because fireworks. Anyway, we are certainly treated with Judy's voice in this novel because this is also an epistolary novel, and the reason why it is an epistolary novel is because one condition that this mysterious benefactor guy places upon funding Judy's Abbott is that Judy has to regularly update him about her progress in college by writing him letters. He may or may not reply those letters, but Judy has to write those letters in order to keep the funding coming. And so basically that's what Judy does, and we would read these letters that are addressed to this mysterious benefactor. He calls himself John Smith, but Judy thinks that the name is a little bit too boring, and so she decides to call this guy Daddy Longlegs because she only had a glimpse of this person's physical appearance, and that was the fact that he was really tall. And so she just called him that. And what I really love about this novel is that we can really see this wonderful portrait of Judy being drawn with words from when she was an 18-year-old teenage girl entering college, all the way until she's about like in her early 20s when she graduates, and the kind of character progression that she exhibits, the kind of development that she has, I find that to be the way that it's written, I find it to be quite organic. The pace is quite consistent. And also the voice is also quite consistent and strong. Because we're reading her letter, which means that most of this novel is actually narrated from Judy's point of view, from this first-person character point of view, and we can really hear how opinionated she is as a person, as a young person. Another thing that also struck me in a personal way is that Judy is a character who has this really strong passion for learning. She grew up in a rather disadvantaged environment in the orphanage, which she held in disdain. But upon entering college, she finds herself in this like totally new environment that she finds herself enjoying very much, because now she gets to learn all of these things that she can use to improve herself. That is something that I find to be kind of something that hit me personally, because these few months, I'm also in college, albeit in a higher degree. I'm doing postgraduate studies now. And I'm in college, but I'm at the point in which I don't really have Judy's strong passion to learn every single thing. Like, you may have seen some of my past videos recently, in which I talk about like feeling kind of tired. And yes, that has been like one of the things that I've been experiencing so far. And so reading about character that tells readers about how she is excited about all of the things that she's learning, how she's developing, there is something that is I don't know, that when I read that, I feel like it is something that I don't have, it is something that I wish I can have, it is something that I hope I can have right now, because I think that would be really helpful. But at the same time, I just don't have it, So yeah, I would say that was like one of the reasons why this book really struck me, because of that character traits of Judy, and also the fact that Judy is also written as someone who is quite optimistic. She is able to see the bright side of things, often, despite the difficulties that she faces. Again, a trait that would be really helpful. But instead, I would say, as I've gotten a little bit older, right, Judy reminds me of the time when I first entered college as well. So I certainly feel that that kind of passion. But it has been like more than 10 years since I first started college. Now, as you get older, there is this kind of like, I would say, character progression of your own, in which you begin to see certain things, and then you start to get, I wouldn't say disillusion, because I feel like that word is a little bit too big of this video, but you do tend to learn about certain things, certain harsher things that kind of shape you into a certain kind of a person, probably some kind of a cynical person, right? So that leads us to the second book that I want to talk about. I just finished a few hours ago, and this is Natsume Sōseki's Botchan. how does that kind of segue into this book? Now, Botchan was originally published in 1906, so that was like about 6 years before Daddy Longlegs. Although Daddy Longlegs was published in the US, this one was published in Japan, so it's like totally different world. But the time setting was also kind of similar. It was around like the beginning of the 20th century as well. So I feel like there is that kind of similarity going on here. And also, I just noticed this as well. The main character's age, Judy Abbott, and also the main character here, he is referred to as Botchan. Both of them are kind of in their early 20s-ish. But this one has a different plot. So what happens in this book is we see a young man. His name is Botchan. He's about like 22 years old, I think, and he grows up in a rather privileged setting, which is totally different from the situation in Daddy Longlegs. So Botchan grew up in this rather privileged household, but he does not really mix well with his father, with his brother, and the only person who really cares for him in this household is his an old maid who came from a declining, or rather a fallen aristocratic family. She is the only person who really sees Botchan as dearly, right? Now, Botchan is interesting because his character is a mixed bag. Like, he is cynical, right? He sees society in a highly cynical way. He's very critical of society, but at the same time he is also young. He's like about 20-something years old, and so because of that he's immature and he's naive. And because of this immaturity and naivety, he also tends to act impulsively. So when that is coupled with his cynicism, things you may expect things to kind of go bad. Now, what happens in the bulk of this novel is that Botchan would eventually get his education and end up becoming a teacher at a school somewhere in the countryside. And in this school, Botchan would kind of serve his role as a teacher, and at the same time, he ends up naturally he encounters his colleagues, other teachers in the school. And this novel would eventually go into this territory of workplace drama, where Botchan, with his characterization, with his naivety plus cynicism, he would respond to his students, the treatments of his students and also his co-workers, in ways that are, I would say, in ways that would make you cringe. I mean, I certainly cringed when I was reading this. And the reason why I tend to cringe is because Botchan does not seem to have the ability to act in a savvy way. He speaks his mind, and one of the things that make this book feel kind of charming is that it's because Botchan really speaks his mind about the society that he is in. He sees through some of the things that the teachers do, but not in a way that is savvy, such that he can sort of save his own skin. He recognizes the presence of workplace politics, and he sort of wants to be involved in the workplace politics, but at the same time he just does not have the skills to navigate through this labyrinthine politics at his workplace. And coupled with the fact that he's cynical, and that he doesn't hold back. He tends to find himself in unfavorable situation. Now, another thing that makes Botchan feel kind of unlikable is the fact that he is kind of classist, and this combination of character traits, the fact that Botchan sort of acts like a character that sheds light on, or rather comments on the social situation of the time, giving criticism indirectly to readers about like what's going on in the society at the time, coupled with the fact that he has plenty of character traits that are rather negative, which kind of undermines his sort of credibility as a POV character, or as a character with whom we can get these social commentary. I find that the effect to be kind of interesting. Like, usually for characters who are intended to deliver or comment on society, right? Typically those characters would usually, be overall be a positive character. But Botchan, he's a character that is very mixed. He has wildly negative, or at least according to me, wildly negative traits, but also positive traits. Now, what struck me with Botchan is that his characterization is a combination of cynicism and childishness, immaturity. And there are times in which, when I read this, I felt kind of uncomfortable, because there are times in which I feel myself to be kind of like that. So yet another character that you would rather not feel relatable to. And in that sense, it's too bright. Okay, so in that sense, I feel like Botchan kind of serves like a in my reading experience recently, Botchan feels like he is the other side of Judy Abbott. And I feel like reading these two, not exactly like back to back. I read this book and then I read 2 books in between, and then I ended up with this one. 3 books in between. I feel like there is this kind of like connection between these 2 books, and how this connection between these 2 books also have a connection with me as the reader. And I feel like it is like one of those times in which the stuff that you read somehow has some kind of resonance with your own personal life. Like, right now, I tend to feel kind of a bit on a tired side, less optimistic side, and because of that, I tend to feel slightly, hopefully, critical about whatever there's going on around me, and that makes me feel a little bit like this dude, when in fact I do kind of hope that I can be more like this. That was a bit of a silly sharing about my recent reads, but yeah, I find it interesting. I feel like this is like why this is the kind of stuff that I enjoy encountering in my own personal reading life. So have you guys read these books? What did you think about it? Oh, by the way, I just kind of want to add the ending of this book. I'm not going to spoil anything about the ending, so don't worry, but there's something about the ending that just doesn't really sit well with me as a modern day reader. If you have read Daddy Long Legs, you would know about that ending. Or maybe if you have seen adaptation of it, the plays or others, yeah, you would have known about the ending. And it is strange to me. It feels like a strange manifestation of power dynamics between men and women, but I also feel like it probably says something about the kind of expectation that the society around that time, early 20th century America, or the readers, the target audience of this book, what they possibly consider to be healthy ideas surrounding man-women relationship and also courtship and stuff like that. Yeah, let me know what you think about that also. But anyway, I guess that's all I'm gonna talk about in this video. I have read 3 other books, but I'll talk about those books in a future video. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you again in a future one. So bye, take care.